Hey friends, it's time for class. I'm Christiana Gaudet. I am your Tarot Fairy Godmother. Please be welcome to our Problem Cards Tarot Workshop. So this was a class that I couldn't really prepare for, except to say that, any card can be a problem card in a certain moment. Even a card you know well, even a card that you think you have a great relationship with, it can come up in a particular way at a particular time, and you'll draw a blank. So this class, attending this class, may not prevent that. I am, however, going to give you the cure for that in just 1 minute. I do want to let you know, some of you who were kind enough to get here early gave me a list of your problem cards. And if you have problem cards, let me know. Because some people got here early and gave me a list, I just pulled those cards out, and in a minute we'll go to Card Cam and we'll deal with them. But let's talk for a minute about a couple of different circumstances that can happen when any card can become a problem card. One is simply when you just draw a blank. For whatever reason, no matter how well you know the card, no matter what, you're just like, I don't know what to say. So the Mary Kay Greer trick on that is to simply say the name of the card aloud. Even if you're reading for yourself, it doesn't matter. Say the name of the card aloud. This is the Six of Pentacles. Say it aloud. Start talking about it. You can talk about it in terms of number and element. You can describe the image. But as soon as you do that, it will come in and you'll understand. And it happens to me in readings where I'll say to a client who's sitting with me, all of these cards make sense except for this one. This one card is not making sense to me, so let's talk it out. And as soon as I start talking it out, I'm like, oh, duh, this is what it is. So another trick is don't be afraid to admit that a particular card is stumping you. Don't be afraid to admit that all the cards are stumping you. You could look at a spread of cards and say, I don't have a clue what I'm going to say next. And that's a perfectly okay way to start a reading as long as you don't let it psych you out. Now, another thing that comes up a lot is regarding context. If the position is, what is my biggest problem? And the card that comes up is like some happy card. How is that my biggest problem, right? Learn to recognize that context can create dignity. What does that mean? Dignity is the method by which we figure out if we're going to read the most direct meaning of a card, or if we're putting it in the past or in the future, or there's a lack of it, or there's too much of it. And we might do this with reversals or elemental dignities. But it's also true that context can create that dignity. So those are some important things to remember. Okay, so Wendy, makeup and fashion insomnia, you always give the best advice. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thanks for being here, and thanks for being a member. And let's see, what else do we have here? My problem card from Betty. I'm just going to dig out, while we're chatting, I'm just going to dig out a few more of these cards so I'll have them and we can just run through them. Hey, Jill, good to see you. Glad you're here. And of course, welcome to all the members. Thank you so much for being members, and welcome, of course, to the moderators as well. So right now, I am looking, Tortoiseshell Moon. The nuanced differences between the Seven of Cups and the Two of Swords. Ow! How do you know that you really love your job? Because when someone asks you to talk about the difference between the Two of Swords and the Seven of Cups, and you become totally ecstatic about the possibility of that conversation, man, that's how you know, right? You're where you're supposed to be. So go ahead. Oh, Virginia W., good to see you. Thanks for being a member. We appreciate you. My worst at the moment is the Ten of Swords. I'm looking for that one. Table for one. Man, Diana, you might as well just say you hate the whole suit of swords. No, I mean, I know that's not true. I know that's not really true. But I see a lot of them there, and I'm going to try to grab them. The Ten of Swords, the Three of Swords, the 5, and the 7. Okay, and I'm also looking for the Hanged Man and the Lovers. I found the Lovers. All right. And the Hanged Man. We're looking for the Hanged Man. And then there's that moment where you can't find the card and you wonder, am I playing with a full deck? I'm not entirely sure. You know, have you ever had those circumstances, those situations where you just do a great reading and then you realize that 2 of your cards were underneath the table or still in the pouch or box or some crazy thing, and yet the reading was still good? You kind of just have to... There's the Hanged Man. Apparently, I am playing with a full deck. Who knew? You kind of just have to recognize that the cards will take care of you. There's that. There's the 2 of Swords. Jill, the Emperor. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I get that. The Emperor's a tough card. I totally get it. I mean, all the cards are tough, each in their own way, right? And I think that's the thing, is we have to come to a place where when we see a card, we're not like, oh, no, I didn't want to see that card. And it happens, you know, because that's the other thing with problem cards, is they're a problem because we have a problem with them. Not even in our interpretation, but just in the fact that we weren't terribly happy to see them. Hang on just one second here. Did someone ask for the 8 of Cups? I was pretty sure. Yes. All right, and let me just, there's that one. Okay, I'm going to need to find a few more, but we have a good start here, so let's get going. I don't have much of a relationship with the devil, says Jeannie, which, you know, I mean, I don't know, man. If there's, you know, I mean, if there's a card that you don't have a relationship with, I mean, the devil is probably a good one to avoid, but here we go. Betty, they can all be tough and then being reversed. So I did put, it's not up yet, but it will be in November. We are doing a reversals workshop in November. Just wanted to let y'all know that. All right. Okay. And Virginia W., if you pull the Hanged Man and the Tower, do you think terrorism? No, I wouldn't. I would think, what would I think if I pulled the Hanged Man and the Tower together? I would, you know, for me, a lot of times the Hanged Man can be the practice of yoga. That's a fun one, right? And so with the Tower, like, I mean, jokingly, I would say the Hanged Man and the Tower is that yoga class that just really kicked your butt. But certainly I can think of other things there too. Terrorism, I would definitely put in the 9 of Swords because of the fear. And I would also put in the 7 of Swords, just because of the shiftiness and the dishonesty. Oh, interesting. Wendy, makeup and fashion insomnia. The Hierophant reversed makes me uncomfortable when it comes up. That is so interesting. And yes, I feel like most people don't like the Emperor or the Hierophant. I don't think of them as negative unless they're reversed. And honestly, I don't think of them as negative necessarily in any connect, in you know, reversed, upright. I mean, I think it's so contextual. And maybe that's because My adoptive father was literally a Hierophant. He was a minister, and he was freaking awesome, you know? So I was raised in the church. I was raised in the church even before my mother married the minister. And so for me, the Hierophant, you know, is not an uncomfortable thing, nor is the Emperor. I've had really good experiences with those particular masculine energies, but I know they can be problematic, and we'll talk about it for sure. I vote first. Seven of Swords. That card scares me. So we'll talk about it. Let us move over. So I had everything so neatly arranged. Now when I go to Card Cam, because I've been here going through my cards for a few minutes and pulling out more cards that you've asked for. So you'll see as we go over here, now it's just a mess. Oh, but it's never a mess. It's tarot, and we're going to work with all of it. Back to Hanged Man and the Tower. Your world is shattered and you want to frantically fix it, but stop and think before you act. Oh, that's smart. That's really smart, Diana. Trey, good to see you. Have you ever had this experience? I got a deck and I just immediately got the sense that the deck didn't like me even after cleansing it. Eventually, while shuffling, I somehow just... I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh at this. But this feels like such a quintessential hair in my mouth. That's a Tower experience, right? Such a quintessential tarot experience. I'm really not laughing at you, but I kind of am. So I got a deck, immediately got the sense the deck didn't like me even after cleansing it. Eventually, while shuffling, I somehow destroyed the Fool card. Guess it wasn't meant to be. So I've not had that particular experience, but I have had some things akin to it. So I know, you know, I know exactly what you're talking about. It is funny. And then Diana, I have the weird feeling that my deviant moon cards are jumping up and down and saying, play with us. That's so fun. Okay, so we're going to start with the major cards. And I've added a few. So we're going to do like this. And we're going to start with these guys. Okay? With the Emperor and the Hierophant. Now, these cards are similar. And I think different people sort of associate, you know, like I know people, for example, who see the concept of the rules as being very Emperor, where for me, the rules are very Hierophant. So, you know, you really have to think about the Emperor and the Hierophant in conjunction with, and of course I'm going to find her now, the Empress, with the Empress. Because if you look at the Emperor, at the Empress, 3, 4, 5, the Empress, the Emperor, and the Hierophant, you have together what I call the 3 cards of authority. These are the 3 authority cards. Now, if we want to go back to the earlier cards in the major arcana, Fool card 0, Magician card 1, High Priestess card 2, you could say that those 3 cards are all about learning and how we learn. The Fool learns with expedition. The Magician learns by working with his tools. The High Priestess learns by studying sacred texts and then looking within. So we have learning in those first 3 cards. The second 3 cards, we have authority. The Empress is the authority of the home. The Emperor is the authority of the community, and the Hierophant is the authority of the church. Now, when we see Empress and Emperor together, they can literally be mother and father. We can see them spiritually, you know, if you do a pantheon, we can see them as mother and father God. That actually came up in someone's reading quite recently that way, and it was really very cool. So these can be our parents. But the Emperor, the clue here for me, the fact that he is wearing armor. We know that he's a politician and he has the ability to declare war. So with the emperor, we have politics. We have community leaders. So this is definitely the patriarchy, right? For sure, for sure. But it can also be your dad. It can be your father in spirit. It can be a really responsible, decent guy. You know, what are keywords for the emperor? Responsibility, stability. He's card 4. So stability is going to be in there. You know, we aspire to be this person and we aspire to know this person because this person is stable and responsible. He is a leader. He has the respect of the community. He will make the hard calls. At the same time, he's also the patriarchy. But my friends, this is the world we live in. We live in a world where the most respected among us may also be the ones who commit the most egregious crimes. And the same is going to be true with the cards. And so it's important to know that in one reading, this is going to be your really great dad or a message from your dad in spirit. In another reading, this is going to be about your position in the community. In another reading, this is going to be the patriarchy with its boot on your neck. All of that can be in this card. Okay, could the emperor also be a control freak? I think some people do see him that way, and I think some people would wait for the reversal, and in the reversal sort of see that overlord energy. But yeah, you could see that because that is certainly somewhere on that spectrum of the behavior of these kinds of people. We're talking fathers, community leaders, all of that. Control can certainly be part of it, but it won't always be there. And Diana says, well, the Hierophant has two sides too. Spirituality versus dogma. Exactly. So the Hierophant, as the authority of the church, originally this card was called the Pope. And so this, really is a representation literally of clergy, of the church, of the dogma, the doctrine, the rules. Now, some people would see secular rules with the emperor, rules of religious behavior and religious life with the Hierophant. That's fair. That's fair. However, you all know I'm a super practical tarot reader, right? And there are not that many times when I have to, in 2023, have to read about people's adherence to their religion. Sometimes, but rarely. Very often in my practice, the Hierophant is the priest of a church, but think about the church as a metaphor. So a doctor is the priest of the Church of Medicine. An attorney or a police officer, these are the priests of the Church of the Law. And very often, for me, the Hierophant is going to be about authority, finding that authority. And it's either finding that authority within yourself, like you're the authority, you know this, or finding the right authority. Don't try to solve this yourself. Go to a doctor, go to an attorney. Now, have I seen this literally talk about priesthood? Yeah, I have. Absolutely. But that is not most of the time. Not most of the time. Okay, Jeannie, not sure why I've been thinking about the Hierophant as a teacher. No, that totally makes sense. The Hierophant can absolutely be a teacher because the teacher is the priest of the Church of Education. Makes absolute sense. And even, in its tightest interpretation, thinking about the Hierophant as the Pope, a priest, a minister is supposed to teach. That's absolutely right. And in fact, if I look at the Hierophant with the Magician and the Hermit, I'm not going to bother you to, go get those cards. You can visualize them. I see those as the three cards of education. The Magician being your bachelor's degree, the Hierophant being your master's degree, and the Hermit being your PhD. So there's definitely an educational piece here. I was dating, Trey, this is good. I was dating a computer programmer and the Hierophant kept coming up when I read for him. I realized it was him. Yeah, these can be the people we know. Now, sometimes the Hierophant, he could just be a computer programmer. Like, that's the language he speaks. He's in the church of IT. But the Hierophant can also be a know-it-all. So did this person turn out to be a know-it-all? I mean, that is an interesting thing. Anna, you see Hierophant as a card of forgiveness. That's so interesting. But it would make sense if you think about literally the Christian doctrine of forgiveness. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to stop right now. But we all recognize there is a Christian doctrine of forgiveness. And you might associate that with this card. That absolutely makes sense. Tortoiseshell Moon, Kathy, in one of Barbara Moore's books, she said Emperor and Empress are the mother and father. Empress generates resources from the abundance that surrounds her, and the Emperor manages and maintains those resources. That makes sense. And Allie Mammon wants to know, so do you see the Empress as family law, community state law, and then central law as the Hierophant? If all three were to pop up in a legal reading, sure, that would make sense. Actually, that's kind of interesting. I love it. And Virginia, I love that, authority within our institutions. Also, with many of us not adhering to church doctrine, how do we decide what is sacred and how to make it so? And there it is. And Trey confirms, yes, he was a know-it-all, which is why we stopped dating. And there you go. There you go. Wendy, no wonder the Hierophant and I don't connect well. My abusive father was a preacher and I have a problem with the church. I get it. I just lucked out and had a preacher father who was fabulous, but I know I'm in the minority here, right? So I totally get it. And we know that people in authority very often abuse that authority. I mean, we know that, and that's why these are hard cards. Now, for me, I will say the Hierophant reversed. I will quote Eden Gray, and y'all know I started with Eden Gray, no shame. Eden Gray said that the Hierophant reversed is the card of the hippie and the iconoclast. And so I'm like so down with that, right? Now, here's another thing I'll say about the Hierophant. Either upright or reversed, I see the Hierophant can be a business owner, but for different reasons. Hierophant reversed, I'm a business owner because I don't want anyone telling me what to do. I don't want anyone being my boss. That's why I'm a business owner, and that is true. Here, a business owner would want to be a business owner because they want to be the boss, right? Either way, you're a business owner, but there's a difference, right? There's a difference there. Table for one, the brighter the light, the darker the shadow. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Anna, I hope I'm remembering it right, but you mentioned once the Hierophant is hospitalization. It sure could be, or needing to see a doctor. It sure could be. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Let's move on to the Lovers, which was suggested by Justine. And that's funny because she's a Gemini, so this is her card. But the Lovers is, and Justine, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. Thanks for being a moderator. We appreciate you. The Lovers is a hard card, and it's primarily a hard card because of its name and because modern tarot artists very often have made this a much sexier, much more romantic, much more passionate card than this. And, I'm not saying one right, one wrong. I'm just saying when you add that in, it makes sense with the word the Lovers, but it loses something. Now, in this image, of course, the man is looking at the woman and the woman's looking at the angel. What's going on here is a choice. We're making choices. And remember, this is Gemini. Gemini is air. So air is powers of the mind. It's not particularly romantic. It's not water and romance and love. It's not fire and sex and passion. No, 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 no. It's the powers of the mind. So when we think about it, thinking about your own love life or the relationships of people you know, what is true here? It's about what we choose. Now, have you ever met anyone, or maybe you yourself, making a bad choice in love? Does that ever happen? No, that never happens to anyone, does it? I think it sometimes does. And also, communication. This card, Gemini, air, communication. We need to communicate here about what we want. And have we ever known a relationship to have issues with communication? That never happens, does it? Does it? So I think one of the things this card does is it teaches us something very important about relationships, romantic and otherwise, that we have to choose who we're going to be in relationship with and how we're going to show up in relationship, and we have to communicate. And this card teaches us that. No, I saw that before you retracted it, Trey, and it was smart. You're not wrong. You're absolutely smart. Anna, could the Hierophant reversed be a taboo relationship? It sure could be. And that's another thing about the Hierophant. The Hierophant is also a card of marriage. It can speak of marriage. Why? Because you go to the priest to get married. So isn't it fun that these come up adjacent to each other? Card 5, card 6. You go to the priest to get married if you decide to do that. Now, the other thing about the lovers, though, when we talk about archetypes in the major arcana, the lovers has an archetype, and that archetype is the syzygy, the divine couple, which again, as Trey mentioned, Adam and Eve. There, we're back. Okay. Feel like a lot of people skip over the snake in the tree and the story of Eve that's in this card. Yes, Adam and Eve, the divine couple, and we understand that story. You are absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yes. Yes. And if we think about divine couples in history, in fiction, in celebritydom, very often they are ill-fated. So does this card predict happiness in love? I think sometimes it can and sometimes it can't, depending on the surrounding cards, depending on how you feel about it. But I think that this card teaches a very, very deep lesson about our choices, our agency to choose, and the necessity of communication. And so when this card comes up, very often, it's not even romantic. It's about, what do you take in your coffee? Do you even take coffee? Do you prefer tea? What do you want? What do you choose to have right here with you? And what can't be here with you? And who makes those choices? And how do you make those choices for yourself? That's a lot of it for me. What do you think? Let me know. Kathy, similarities between the lovers and the devil? Thank you. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I was doing these in order and now I'm not, because you're absolutely right. The same characters, Adam and Eve, the same characters, and numerologically, they're the same. 15 and 6 are the same, right? Because 15, 1 and 5 equals 6. So these cards are connected. And look, they each have 3 characters. Here we have an angel. Here we have the sabbatic goat. So, yeah, there's a connection there. Now, and Audrey M., yes, the story of Adam and Eve is about choice as well. Absolutely, yes. And Rose about choice and lovers. So it's kind of the whole thing. That's like the whole thing. Because it's an air card, right? The Lovers is air. So Gemini, being Gemini. So the twins, right? And so do you choose this or that? Do you identify with this or that? Do you want this or that? What do you want? And you can see it very clearly depicted here, again, because he wants her and she wants something entirely different. Does that help? Does that make sense? Let me know. I can play with it more if you like. So I think it's really important to recognize that these images, these cards do come out of Christianity. They absolutely do. And those of us who don't operate within that framework need to sort of play with that, like this idea of good and evil, light and dark, does show up here. That duality does show up here. But those of us who don't have duality as part of our spiritual path can also go way more expansive with that. And so that it's not, do you choose the good thing or the bad thing? It's choose. What do you want? Just choose, right? So it becomes different. Rose, I tend to get stuck in indecision. So Rose just said something so freaking important. So important. And I can't believe, obviously this is a hard kind of a workshop to have a lesson plan for, but Rose, I feel like I should write you a check and send it to you, because this is probably the most important thing of this entire session. And I might not have thought to say it if you hadn't. So I really am appreciating you right now. What you're saying is important. If you struggle with a card, it is probably because there's a growth opportunity there for you. So whatever card you're struggling with, there's a place there that you can grow. So smart, so beautiful. And that gives us a whole new way of playing with that struggle, because then we can say, okay, I have some work I need to do around this energy in my life. So whatever card you're struggling with, think about the archetype, think about how that is showing up in your life, and how can that help you, right? Really smart. Ness, she's rolling her eyes saying, my eyes are up here. Exactly. Can we use both in a tarot spell? Absolutely yes. Betty Flesher, in the Slow Tarot, the Lovers has a naked man and a woman in a field behind a burning house. Wow, not sure about the message. So there's a bunch of cards in the Slow Tarot that I don't love and have a hard time with. But that message, that was a choice. That's a choice. And, it totally makes sense. Sabrina Luna, so good to see you. I have a fondness for the RWS deck, but to me, the best variation, which is more pagan Wiccan, is Robin Wood Tarot. Love that deck. I do too. My problem with it is they're all skinny, young, white people. I have a problem with that. But for its time, it was revolutionary and fabulous. Absolutely. Right. Tortoiseshell Moon, Kathy, in Marseille, the Lover shows a guy choosing between two ladies, but possibly one is his mom, with Cupid firing his arrow. Exactly. All right. Ali Mammon, sir, you're saying we don't need reversed sides of the Devil and the Lovers because they're upright and reversed? No, I wasn't saying that at all. No. Nope. I was saying that when talking about the Emperor and the Hierophant, the reversals can be really nebulous for different people. I love the Hierophant reversed. Ness finds it scary. But I was also saying earlier that context can create an ill dignity. So, for example, if my question was, what is the best thing going on in my life right now? And the card that came up was the devil. Well, that's hard, because how is the devil ever going to be the best thing? But the devil reversed really could be. You see what I'm saying? So that's where it comes in. Let me know if that makes sense. If it doesn't, I can talk more. All right, let's talk about that devil. Jeannie Mnuchin says she doesn't have a relationship with this guy. But the fact is, we all do. The interesting thing about the devil is card 15 is he begins the final septenary of the major arcana. That is the final set of 7 cards. I see the final set of 7 cards as the journey to spiritual enlightenment. He is the gatekeeper on that journey. There is no spiritual enlightenment without confronting this guy. Why? Because his archetype is the Jungian shadow. That part of ourselves that we do not want to see and we do not want other people to see. On our spiritual journey, we must confront that. Now, what else is true about the devil? I love this illustration because the captives, the chains on their neck loose, hands free, they could lift the chains up and walk away anytime they want, but they choose not to. The devil is also a choice. We were talking about the lovers being a choice. The devil is also a choice. Now, some people will say, well, the devil's never a good choice. Disagree. The devil can be a fine choice. Let me give you some examples of times that the devil is a fine choice. My sick relative is going to need care, and I'm putting my life on hold in order to care for my sick relative. That's a choice, and a fine choice. I'm a stay-at-home mom. Also a choice. And also that, you're going to be a slave, but there it is. It's a good choice, right? Even, it's my birthday and I'm going to drink wine and eat chocolate cake and I do not care about the calories and I have a designated driver, so shut up. A good choice. Maybe, right? But the devil can also be leaning into mental illness, faulty thinking, depression, anxiety, and addiction. Drugs, alcohol, gambling, any of those things, that's the devil too. So I would argue we all have a relationship with this guy, whether we know it or not. Audrey is a Capricorn. The devil has been very represented on my path in my shadow work. Very good, very good. Jeannie, a sacrifice. I mean, in the sense, I suppose because when you tie yourself to something, you're always going to sacrifice something else, right? Whether it's healthy or unhealthy. When you tie yourself to one thing, you're sacrificing something else. So yeah, that can be. Absolutely. Absolutely. So Bianca, good to see you. Glad you're here. I disagree. I am not seeing this as a negative energy for sure. Sometimes, but not for sure. Because my birthday is next week and I'm going to be all about that. Catch me the next morning, I may be regretting it, but I don't see that as negative. I live to be this old. Damn right I'm having a drink. Absolutely. So no, I do not think the devil is always negative. I do think the devil can be hard to deal with for a lot of different reasons. Can I speak? Could the devil be people-pleasing? Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. The addiction to people-pleasing and how we tie ourselves to that. And then from Bianca's perspective, absolutely negative. Yes. Yes. Can it be excess? Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Trey, the devil was my best friend in my early 20s. Yeah, you and me both. And we lived to tell the tale. Can I speak on the devil reversed? For me, the devil reversed is having completed that. It could be your kid grew up. It could be the person you were caring for died. It could be you went to AA. You quit. You lost the weight. You put the chocolate cake away. So the devil reversed can be conquering that addiction or having that attachment be gone. So... There you go, Bianca. We are on the same page, my friend. You are absolutely, totally, completely, 100% right. Depends on the question. I don't think it's always negative. It can come up as great sex sometimes. Yes, it can. This can be lust in the best possible way. You are so right. Problem is when in that context, if you allow yourself to get attached to the fabulous booty call, then we get into that other side of it, right? So the great sex, yes, but don't get attached. So good. So good. Dina, the devil is Scorpio's best friend. Well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Although death is our card, to be honest. But yes, we are connected to the devil as well. It's true. What is the hand signal? It is the blessing, and it's funny because, it's the one that Spock used too, as a Vulcan blessing. But this image, this is Eliphas Levi's sabbatic goat. He drew this, and A.E. Waite had Pamela Coleman Smith put it in this card. So it's a blessing. Fabulous booty call. Well, I may be old, but I know about these things. Oh my gosh, Diana, Capricorn rising and Scorpio moon. Jeannie, the shadow self is very broad. Can it speak to insecurities? 100% yes. Yes. The shadow is anything you don't want people to see, and that can be your own insecurity. Absolutely yes. Yes. In fact, I think you just said something super smart that we should all remember. Because when I teach the devil, I never think about insecurities, but I bet every single person in this virtual room, myself included, we all got insecurities, and those insecurities have sometimes tied us up in not good ways. So I think that's really smart. Yes. No, Betty, it's not a mockery. And see, that's a thing that sort of comes from, the Christian upbringing that a lot of us were steeped in suggests that anything that is not of, honoring the Christian God is therefore a mockery of. But no, it's not. No. Could the devil represent demonic possession? Yeah, I think it could. Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. It would be very interesting to do a study of the hand gestures that we see here, especially for those of us who grew up in liturgical homes. Because I remember my father would have hand gestures for his benediction in the United Methodist Church, which was not big on pomp and ceremony. So it's interesting stuff for sure. But no, the magicians, well, let's see, where is the magician? I'm not going to dig for him. The magician's hand gestures are the as above, so below. But if you look at the devil, yes, one hand up, one hand down, you're not wrong. I didn't see it, but you're not wrong. Thank you. And that's why we gather together. Because I'm learning as much from you as you're learning from me, and that's how it should be. So perfect. Well done. Well done. Oh, okay. Trey, you're seeing the devil coming up to describe a narcissistic family member. Yeah, I could see that too. All right, let's move on because we have a lot of cards to get through and we will not make it all the way through, and I apologize. But we know we're going to do this one again, right? All right. Justice. A couple of you mentioned justice. All right. For me, justice is very much about the law and legalities and fairness and unfairness. When I see justice reversed, I call it the you got screwed card. It could mean you actually got screwed or that you feel like you got screwed. But this can be appearance in a court of law, signing of contracts, buying or selling property, dealing with attorneys for any reason. It can also be about fairness, feeling treated fairly, caring about fairness. It can be around social justice issues. It can be a little kid being like, oh, it's not fair. It can be all of those things. And, so it can even be marriage, as can this guy, right? This guy is marriage because you see a priest. This guy is marriage because it is a legally binding contract, right? All right. Yeah, Bianca, absolutely. Justice coming up is legal stuff for the signing of important papers, all of that. All of that. Oh, I love that, Jill. Don't judge yourself harshly. That's good. I like that. Can we see justice with judgment? Yeah, a bunch of you asked about judgment, and here's judgment. Yes, 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 yes. And it is funny because people will mix up these cards. I think both because they're two-syllable words that begin with the letter J in English. Excuse me. And they're both things that you see in a courtroom. You see justice and judgment in a courtroom. But they can both have as their key word karma. Science giant, so good to see you. Oh, this is good. Persnickety, Bianca Tarot, Science Giant, all smart stuff. Bianca, justice can mean respect as well. Treating someone fairly, treating them with respect. Absolutely. Persnickety, cause and effect, yes. And Science Giant, there's no justice, there's just us. That's brilliant. And it's true, and that's something I say when I teach this card very often, is like the lesson of justice is there is none in the world. We can't expect it. We can't expect to feel like the world is fair. Nothing is fair. And yet, we have to try to treat one another fairly regardless. So yeah, brilliant. I love it. Tortoiseshell Moon. Justice is often about accountability for me and consequences, the cause and effect. Yeah, I think a lot of people see it that way, and it makes sense. Oh, Bianca, if someone asked, how does this person feel towards me and got justice, what would you say? I would sometimes need an extra card for that. I might want 2 or 3 cards with that. There is no shame in extra cards. Never. But if I had to do it, I would say they think that you have treated them respectfully. I like your word there for respect. I'm going to use that from now on. So thank you for that. They feel like you've treated them fairly. Or they're getting ready to take you to court. I mean, it could be that. That's why I would want another card. Oh, Dina, earthly justice, higher justice. That's fun. I love that. Okay, so as far as judgment is concerned, Audrey says the judgment card makes me think of out-of-world beings. Yes, angels, literally, those who have passed on. Literally, yes. Yes. Judgment can be, and this is a more modern interpretation for this card, but judgment can be communication with the angels, literally hearing the voice of the angels. Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Oh, Bianca, that's interesting. Yes, usually with justice, it feels mature and respectful, but also sometimes revenge. Interesting. Yeah, I could see like a person this way asking for revenge. Yeah, I could see it. I could see it. Justice, judgment as mediumship. Yes, it's a minority meaning, but it's there. Another minority meaning for judgment is advertising, getting the word out, communicating, literally tooting your own horn. Now, archetypically, can I speak? I think. Archetypally, judgment is literally the Christian rapture, okay? Angel blows his horn, corpses literally rising out of coffins. That's what we're looking at here, to be born into the new day. So that's an interesting thing, but how does that translate into our day-to-day life? The project is over and you did well. Get closure to this. You need closure. Putting closure to one aspect of life and then on to another. Saying goodbye, letting go. All of that is here. Yes, reflecting on life choices. Absolutely yes. I have always, and this was my training, and I don't know if this works for other people, But for me, when I see this, there is a sense you did the best you could. You did okay. You know, like I would always, when I see this card, want to give comfort that those choices were okay. It's okay. Awaken to your purpose. Heeding the call. Yes, a calling, literally being called to something. Yes, yes, yes. Being reborn. Absolutely. Judgment being zombies in a Halloween deck. I wonder if someone has done that. That's really smart and I love it. All right. Let's move on. There was also, okay, we may not get out of the majors this time around. We may have to do a whole nother one for the minors. I did pull out the minors, and I apologize if we don't get to them. But this is just too much fun as it is, isn't it? These were the other majors that y'all asked for. Judgment coffee's ready. Oh, interesting. Science Giant. Isn't it also about being naked before the world? We're talking about judgment, which I just did something with. Here it is. Isn't it also about being naked before the world with no way to hide? I love that. That's gorgeous. I've never heard it before, but I love it. So yes, that's great. That's great. Table for one, Diana. Next time, the entire sword suit. I will refer you to, in the Minor Arcana playlist on this channel, I did a class a long time ago called Making Friends with the Suit of Swords. I will recommend that in the meanwhile. Haunted Mansion deck has zombies for judgment. There we go. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I love coffee's ready for judgment. That's so good because it's also the wake-up call. You know, it's kind of perfect. Bianca, judgment can be vulnerability. I love that too. Okay, let's see if we can get through these in the next 8 minutes, and then I will feel a sense of accomplishment. Hanged Man. This is the card of yoga. I also see it as the card of the 12-step program. To me, it is about what we do not control and finding enlightenment in being uncomfortable, being in an uncomfortable position, but nonetheless finding enlightenment from that perspective. That's what I get there. And as you speak of the different cards, because I'm going to move quickly, definitely tell me what card you're talking about. Claire, justice, surrendering to a higher power like AA. A class on stalker cards. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. All right. Temperance. Temperance is literally my favorite card. Literally. It is the final card of the second septenary, meaning the second group of 7, which I see as the cards of finding our emotional balance. So I feel like this card is like the most sane a person can ever be. Not the happiest card, but the most sane. So what's going on here? And Bianca mentioned temperance and the star. And if you go, I think it's in the Major Arcana playlist, you'll see a class called When Water Is Not Water, where I talk specifically about temperance and the star. What they have in common is they both seem to be pouring water, but neither of them are pouring water. This is not water, it's alchemy. With the star is literally pouring starlight onto the earth. So I have a whole class on that, so definitely check that out. But that's what's going on here is nothing in life is perfect. But if you can take a little of this and a little of that and blend it together, you can find the perfect blend. Keywords, time, alchemy, and art. This is all about creativity. We are not just mindlessly doing this. We are the cosmic bartender, and we are creating our lives. This is powerful. Oh, Dina, hanged one, waiting for the birth of something. I love that. I love that. Oh, okay. So Bianca, yes, emotional balance, yes, but it goes so much more deep because it's what you can solve. It's what you can create. One of the things I love about temperance is the word solution. Because if you've ever studied science, you know that a solution is literally the mixing of something, but we also say that the solution is what we need to fix a problem. We're making a solution, which will be the solution. I also love this card when it comes to romance because it is the perfect blend. Oh, Dina, the Toth meaning, very profound. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Turning lemons into lemonade. Yes, absolutely, and you might add some vodka to that. Just saying. Oh, see, there I am with my Scorpio devil again. What am I doing? Okay, the Tower. That which is built on a faulty foundation cannot stand. But I also have to say, I heard a story about this card recently from Jenna Matlin, suggesting that originally there was a saint trapped in this tower. God knocked the tower down so the saint could be freed. So, we often see the falling tower as this really devastating thing, and it can be, but it can also be a breakthrough that brings us to freedom. And as Diana mentioned earlier, the lightning is enlightening, and these little droplets represent the Spirit of God descending around us. So even in this dark space, higher power is present. And remember, too, that this is on the journey towards spiritual enlightenment. So this is also necessary. We have to let go of what is false in order to hang on to what is real. Yes, add vodka. Yes, indeed. Diana, coming down, the tower coming down from above, judgment coming up from below. I love that. That's beautiful. Trey, temperance being called art really opened the meaning for me. Oh, interesting. Diana, both the tower and judgment are breaking free. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. All right. We could spend an entire class on this guy. The moon. What I can tell you is that which is seen under the moonlight is going to look different than in the light of day, so tread carefully. This is where we find our mysteries. This is where we figure out what's real and what's not real, and we're on a path to enlightenment. But it can be treacherous. So when this card comes up in a reading, it can be a warning or it can be like a congratulations. It can tell you to pay attention to your dreams. It can tell you to use magic. It can tell you to use your intuition. But it can also tell you not to trust that person because there's some things going on that you can't see. So that's interesting. Do I think the moon reversed is better? Yes, because the moon reversed has already solved the mystery. We know the truth now. We know what that truth is. Although there could also be a situation where, like, imagine a person really steeped in the doctrine of the church, but they're also psychic and they're not acknowledging their psychism. So that could look like this, and that would not be good. But if we were looking for a solution, it seems we found it. Cool, right? Haha, Diana, it can be good if you're named after a goddess of the moon. Damn straight. Yes, the moon can represent moon cycles, insightful dreams. Absolutely. Wendy, I see the moon reversed as evil spirits. I think there's some precedent for that. I think that could actually be a thing. Absolutely. The world. So, a couple of things. We know that these guys are the four fixed signs of the zodiac, representing the four elements, but also the four evangelists, the four writers of the gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. We see them in the Wheel of Fortune as well. But in the Wheel of Fortune, they're actually writing their gospels. Now the gospels are finished and are literally out in the world. This wreath represents a vagina. This person represents a hermaphrodite. This is covering up more than you would have thought. I'll say all of that, and then I will say that it has been theorized. Since we have so much Christian reference in the major arcana, the question has always been, what is the Christ card? The Hanged Man can talk about the crucifixion, but it's been theorized that the world is the Christ card, but also being born through the Holy Yoni, also a hermaphrodite. Play with that for a while if you want. What does it mean when it comes up in a reading? Well, it can literally be completion, satisfaction, and attainment. It can be success. It can tell you to take a bigger view, pull back, don't be so myopic. Look at the macrocosm, not the microcosm. It can talk about globalism. It can talk about the whole big picture. And if we're reversed, we're not done, we're not complete. We did not get the big picture. All right, my friends. Oh, Dina, the world, the 4 regal stars in the sky. That's beautiful. Science Giant, I love this. The moon brings out our animal instincts. I like that. I like that. Oh, yes, Bianca, the moon can represent nighttime for predictions. Yes, absolutely. The world is a lot, yes, and the world, we're done here very appropriately because we are done here. I am so sorry. I had all the minors that y'all asked for. Just to tell you, I wasn't blowing you off. I have them. And I especially, I didn't even find the cards. But the person who asked for, I'll give you my full face for this as we say goodbye. The person who asked for the 2 of Swords and the 7 of Cups. I'm going to do this very quickly because it made me excited and I'll be sad if I don't. And we'll talk about it more when we do the minors. All right. Yes, they are both decisions. But the 2 of Swords is also the card of peace and being at peace with indecision, holding space for that. The 2 of Swords is the decision that you make with your head, not your heart. The 7 of Cups is your wild imagining and all the possibilities. Be careful what you choose. Some choices are better than others. Use your imagination to think about all the possibilities, but do not give in to the dark imaginings of anxiety. Hope that helps. Yes, there is a Swords class. And the Swords class is called Making Friends with the Suit of Swords. It's on this channel, and I believe it's in the Minor Arcana playlist. So definitely check that out. My friends, I really appreciate you. Thank you all so very much. Special shout out to the members and the moderators. I appreciate you all so much. There is nothing I would rather be doing than sitting here talking with y'all about tarot. Again, I apologize for the cards we didn't get to, but we will get to them. And we have a members only session coming up next Tuesday. It's my birthday party. So members, grab a drink, grab your favorite treat, and I will read for you in honor of my birthday. Because my birthday is coming up next week. Yes, it is. Thank you all. Oh, your first live. I'm so glad. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Spicy Scorpio. Yes, I really lead into that this time of year. Yes, I do. Thank you all. Special thanks to the members, the moderators, everyone for being here. Please like this video. I will be back tomorrow, Friday, with your Friday weekly wrap-up, and I will look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.